30 years ago, I started a software company called Microworks, and more recently one called VoyagerNet. I'm CEO of both of these companies. And over the past 30 years, we have developed incredible products. So one of my passions is to use technology to solve problems and to turn that into products. So I have a dream, and I want to invite you on this journey with me. My dream with Voyager Quests is that we can together build an enterprise-grade adventure gaming system that is going to revolutionize the world of gaming, at least adventure gaming. The idea that I have is that it would be a quest-based system that people would be able to create their games and eventually players would be able to play it. So that's the dream. But the short-term version of this is I want to use Voyager Quests as a way to show you how enterprise-grade software is developed. And in this Quest 1, we're going to focus on clean architecture. And then the third thing is I want to learn with you. So I constantly learn. I'm reading books all the time. And I want to ask you, as you're on this journey with me, share your feedback, share your input, and specifically also with these videos, if there's something that you think I should do different, something that I can do that'll make the experience better for you or for other people, please share that. I won't take offense. As a matter of fact, I've learned one thing with product development or anything is feedback really makes the journey better. So what are we going to cover in Quest 1? Let's look at all the different parts of Quest 1. So firstly, I'm going to build a system without taking any good practices into consideration. Keep that in mind when you look at the code a little bit later. It's going to be wrong. And then so that's going to be part 1, the video you're currently watching. Then the second video is going to be this one, the power of type-int. At first, when type-int was introduced into Python, I didn't really understand it. I wouldn't say I didn't understand it, but I didn't see the need as clearly for it. Oh my goodness, I'm a total believer now of why you need type-ints. And I want to show you why, how you can use it. And it's just, you cannot develop without using type-ints or type annotations. So we'll zoom into that. Then the video after that, I'm going to talk about the dependency rule. In clean architecture, you have this simple rule that everything can only depend inwards. There's different architectures. Clean architecture 1, onion architecture, hexagonal architecture. All of these have the same rule that dependencies point inwards. We're going to talk about that. Then we're going to look at data transfer objects. So don't want to talk too much about it, but data transfer objects is a way how you send data into the inner layers of your application. We're going to talk and go through that in detail. I'm also going to cover Pydantic in detail in this video, where you'll see how you use Pydantic to really solve these problems in a nice way. Then we're going to look at the application layer inside a clean architecture. So I don't want to go into the details, but just as you can see on the picture over here, the application layer really orchestrates your business logic. And we're going to look at how that works in practice. All of these videos are, as you can see, a little icon there, Python-based. So then finally, we'll look at the domain. So I'm going to explain what domain-driven design is in this domain video. I'll explain some of the concepts that Eric Evans covered in his amazing book, Domain-Driven Design. And we'll look at it in practice. We're actually going to develop the whole system, redevelop Quest 1 using all of these different layers. And then as you'll see in Quest 1 now, we do have data storage. So we're going to move on and look at what I call the guardians of persistence, but really repository pattern as well as unit of work pattern. I want to show you how that's done and why it's done in a clean architecture, why you use that, and in test-driven development, how to implement that and how it totally revolutionizes your development workflow. So this is the journey. If this sounds interesting to you, join me on this adventure. subscribe to the channel so you hear about new videos. We're going to jump into video 1 now. But before I continue, every one of these videos have a surprise in them. So I love playing around with all new tech. I'm playing around with image generation, as you saw there. My daughter asked me the other day, did I use AI to generate it? I told him no, I hand drew all the images. As you know, it's not true. So I used AI to generate all of them. But I want to show you something that really blew my mind. And I'll, in every video, right at the end, like as a little treat, I'm going to have a video in that will demonstrate the latest image to video technology. So let's look at one here. They're going to be short, like this is just 8 seconds or something like that. But isn't it crazy amazing that just with a prompt and an image, AI can do this? So the gaming system that we're going to be developing will use AI, and we'll get to that. In Quest 1 here, we're just the first steps, but when I'm going to show you something very basic. So let's get into this video. Let's look at what the Quest 1 is. And this is a quest I gave to my interns. Shout out to the interns. So what you need to do is, and I want to encourage you, before you go into how I do it right now, just try to do this. It'll be a good challenge for you to just apply your mind. Let me say something about that. We can do this quest within seconds using AI, right? You can throw it into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can, or Gemini or Claude can generate this for you within seconds. But you're not learning something. It's super important if you want to learn something to try it. Learning really requires a little bit of work. What I mean with that is you need to engage your mind and try to struggle a little bit. As you struggle, let's use this term, resistance builds the muscles, or the brain cells in this case. So let's look at the quest. Your mission is to create a backend system in Python that manages a set of characters and their attributes. This will be the first building block of your adventure world, the character API, a registry where all heroes, villains, and wanderers are stored. I'm not going to read through all of it, but here's the rest of the quest. This is what we need to do, and we need to be able to store this in JSON files in a file. So we're not database yet, we'll get there. And that's where the repository pattern's going to come into play big time. Okay, so let's jump into this, and I'm going to quickly code this. Keep in mind, the code you're about to see is not clean architecture. It's the opposite. It's wrong architecture. And then we'll step into the other videos and do it in a clean way. I'm glad you're here, and I'm excited to have you on this journey with me. Let's jump in. We're gonna start from scratch. So first thing, I'm initializing a new UV project. As you can see, all the files have been created. Just so you know, if you haven't watched my UV video, it might be a good idea, if you haven't worked with UV, just to dive in. Mastering UV. So we're going to import JSON. We're importing typing. I'm going to use some typing just to make life a little bit easier. FastAPI. Also going to import the HTTP exception for API. I'm going to use that. I'm not going to use Pydantic now. So let's go pathlib. We're going to need that for JSON. And I'm creating a basic app, FastAPI. Let's give it a nice name. Naive implementation. Keep in mind the code here is going to be not clean. There won't be any architecture or much architecture to this. Okay, so we'll call the data file characters.json as it is in the spec. And I'm going to create a data file, just put some test data in here, because I'm actually going to start with the delete function. to make life I'm just want to start with the simplest one, because what I want to leave you with, firstly, and this is super exciting, is how quick it is to get something working in Python. And I'm going to show you FastAPI. If you haven't seen this, you're going to love it. Okay, we need a function to load the characters. It's going to output a list of dictionaries. For now, I'm keeping the types just basic. That looks good. Auto generation. You have to love it. So we're reading that the data path. Path, by the way, is what we imported up there, pathlib. And it gives you a lot of automated stuff to work with files on the operating system. I'm just testing for a basic exception here. If no file, then we're returning a blank list. And we're raising that exception, and it auto-generates failed to decode character data. I'll just go with that. Obviously, we're expecting a list. So we're saving character data. That's the next function. It's just going to return nothing. And what we're doing, we're accepting again that list, and we're saving that. Okay, this is our first path, API path. And this is really the application, a FastAPI application we created up there. What we're doing now is we're creating the paths for the different API endpoints. And that's why I chose delete here, so that it can really be demonstrated how simple it is. Status code 204. So that'll be just be, if it succeeds, that'll be the status code we're going to return. So what do we want to do when we delete a character? We're going to load all the characters. Remember, delete the Python ID. Look at the parameter over there, the ID. And now we're going to go through, loop through all the different characters, which is not equal to the ID. And we're going to test if the length is the same. So here, what we're basically doing is we're just saying, give me all the characters that doesn't have that ID. And I'm going to test if the list length is the same. If it's the same, then the character didn't exist, and I want to throw an exception. If it's not, then we've deleted something. So then we're happy. Now keep in mind, this is not a multi-user system at this point. So this will not work at scale. Just so you know. That's it. So we're basically done. Let me just check. So now we have different ways we can run FastAPI. One is using UV-corn. I'll demonstrate that a bit later. Or you can just use the FastAPI command prompt. Now I have not activated my virtual environment because with UV it's not necessary. But if you don't have your virtual environment active, then you're going to use UV run, and that'll be as if you have your virtual environment active at that point. So UV run is then FastAPI. And then we're going to use dev because we wanted to auto refresh. Oh yeah, I did not install FastAPI yet. I did see that exception up there. So we just need to add FastAPI. There we go. Note that it also installed Pydantic for me. Oh, to run FastAPI, I need to install the standard. And now it'll work. There we go. Now check this out. Yes, we have a working endpoint, but we also have a full set of docs that was just created for us. And a full OpenAPI.json spec was written, which you can export and use in all kinds of tools. All of it's done. Plus, if you want to test this, I'm going to leave this for you. You see, look at the URL there, /docs. Try /redoc. That'll give you a whole different documentation system as well, which I actually prefer in some cases. Now, for those of you who've been involved in web development, to do this 10 years ago would have been crazy difficult. And just like that. That's part of the reason why you have to be cutting edge, because if you're stuck with 10-year-old technology, it's probably going to be 10 times more difficult. And you have to be cutting edge. You have to constantly push and learn. And to those of you who are considering coming into this field of development, just make a mental note. You will have to be a lifelong learner. Otherwise, you won't cope. Otherwise, you'll get stuck on old tech and you'll be 10 times less productive. So let's look at deleting over here. And we can try it. You see that little try out button over there? So let's delete one of those entries. Ooh, character not found. The character is there. Okay, I know what this is. So the next video is going to touch on type-ins, type annotations. One of Python's weaknesses is the fact that it doesn't have types. But about like a few years ago, Python added type hints, type annotations, and we're going to cover that in the next part of this quest. But let me just say this. What you are going to see right now is by simply adding that type, everything changes. The tools change, the systems know much more about what's expected here. We'll zoom into this, but it becomes so amazing. That's where I saw one of the reasons you want to use types tooling, and frameworks absorb the types and they write code for you automatically based on your types. Let's look at this now. You have to love this. So just refresh. Notice the documentation changed over there. It's now expecting an integer. So everything changed. If you go into the specs, if you look at the OpenAPI JSON, everywhere, everything changed by just adding the type annotation. And there we go. We have a 204 returned. So now the character's gone, deleted out of the JSON file. I'm just adding the character back so that we don't run out of tests. Now I'm going to delete the second one. Let's see. Should be up 204. That's it. Let's just put them back for now. We have a working system. Just like that. With something that's starting to look like a working system. But to be honest, there are so many problems here, and I'm going to start showing you some of them, and we'll talk through it. Some of these things that you can see that's wrong is just the typing there, but once it gets more complicated, you're going to understand why clean architecture is so amazing and so necessary with a complicated system. Okay, now I'm showing you UVcorn, just the exact same site. We're running using UVcorn. That's the way you do it. Now I didn't run it with the reload, so you adding reload would mean that whenever you make a change, it's going to reload. That is exactly the same as running the dev setting in FastAPI. Okay, let's continue. Let's do we're gonna get character. So we'll get by ID. So notice that it auto-entered there again. That would have been the same error if I just accepted the suggestion. We're loading the character. Basically iterating through all of the characters, and we are returning the character that equals the ID. There's only going to be one, so the moment we find the one, we return that one. This should work. Character not found. Okay. Actually, I thought we needed an int. We needed an int. I changed it to string. So I broke it. I need to change that string back to int. Now, just have a look. I printed it out there. This is a technique I always use. If you're not sure what's going on, you can add breakpoints. That's really the right way. But if you just want a quick way, just put a print statement in and it prints it there. And I can see in the printout there at the bottom that, okay, we obviously needed an integer, not a string value. Good. Now it'll work. Awesome. There we go. Okay, what's next here? So we also want to be able to get a list of characters. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Let me just add name. I'm gonna make it so that it's able to accept a parameter called name. I'll add it. I need to add it up there. So if this is going to be a searchable API. So you can see the name's going to be, it's going to come into the function, and then we're going to use it. It's called search term. And then we're basically case folding. That's the right way to do case insensitive searches. And that'll be a string. And I'm going to make it optional because it's not it. And again, you're going to see now how the documentation is going to, and the whole OpenAPI spec is going to change just by adding that optional in there. Import optional. I will have to return. Let me just check. Return the characters. There we go. Simple. We have a search, plus we have a name-based search. So I'm gonna look for Aria Stormblade. Whoa, sounds powerful. So, and also just the name. And actually, you just type something in that name. Whenever, obviously that's not going to work, but if I do AR, it'll work. That's pretty simple. And Kyle Nightwind, it's also in here. I love these names. Okay, the last one I'm going to do right now, because I don't want to spend too much time here, is going to be, I'm going to use a little bit of Pydantic. So you're going to see the Pydantic, and then the next few videos we're going to zoom into this. So let's not talk about DTOs for now, just models, request model. So what the request model is going to do, it's going to give you a spec of what we're wanting from a request point of view. I have to import Pydantic. I knew that. And it's in the spec for quest 1, so I have to use Pydantic somewhere. I'm going to only use it here, very basic value int. So we're basically saying we're updating an attribute and we're passing in an integer value. So that'll be the character we're updating, the ID of the character, and then the attribute name we're updating. I'll show you now. We're making some big mistakes here. Or we're not thinking about some things. And I want to show you what the impact of that would be. Oh my God, almost made the same mistake there. So what I'm expecting in the body is I'm expecting a Pydantic object to be passed in. And this is what makes FastAPI what it is. It's going to interpret the Pydantic object and then write the spec based on that. You're not seeing the power of it now, but wait until the next videos. You're going to see how powerful that gets. So what I'm doing over here, I'm enumerating the list of characters so that I can easily just update the right character once we need to do that. And so I've got an index, that's the I, and then the character, that's the C. Enumerate characters will give you a 0 character, 1 character. And I'm just iterating through the characters until I get the right one. I'm checking, but let me, I don't want to do any checks here. I'm just going to update because I want to show you what starts to break and how serious that could be. So there we go. So what I've done there is I've updated the attribute name with the body, which is the Pydantic object, and the value in there, which would be whatever's passed in as the new value. And characters, that's the list of characters that was returned by load characters. I'm updating the index that we saved. I'm updating that character, and I'm saving characters and returning the character that I updated. And now we're gonna, I think we should raise that exception. Character not found if something goes wrong. I think this is gonna work. Let's check. So let's update aria character 1 and update might. Ooh. Let's just check. Yeah. So might's currently 70. Now let's break something. Oops. No error. So notice what happened. And this is a critical mistake that just took place here. We updated the attribute, but the spelling of the attribute was wrong. Instead of failing, it added the attribute. Okay, so let's fix this. You see that? So we now have an attribute in the JSON file that should not be there. I'm going to just use a very simple, naive way of fixing this. So let's just create a list of attributes and we'll check against the list to just make sure that it's in there, and we'll error if it's not. Autocomplete, that is so cool. It already knew. Invalid attribute name. Now we get an error. Invalid attribute name. But check this out. Okay, so let's update might and let's go and look. So you can see might updated to 99, but we're sitting with a critical mistake. Our data is corrupt. Biggest mistake you can have. We fixed the bug in the software, but we have an historic problem. Imagine you have a database with 100 million users playing this game, and we don't know where this corruption is, where it exists. How do you fix that? You need to go through all the data and you need to go and find out and fix it. Because it's going to come back and haunt you and break stuff in the future. And this is why you need to be super careful. You need to build layers of security into your application to make sure when stuff starts breaking that you detect it before it's in production. And that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about. Just show you the update works. And that's going to be as far as I'm going in this video for now. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you're going to join me on this journey, because what we're going to do next is look at the types. We're going to zoom into types and understand the different values of types. Not only one value, it's a whole stack of value that you get by using type hints and type annotations. And it's so valuable that once you understand it, I don't think you'll ever even think about not using types. And that's what I hope I can convey in the next video simply. I hope I can summarize it in 20 or 30 minutes. Again, subscribe. And if you want to follow, and I'm excited to be with you on this journey, and let's see what we can do together. I'm here to learn as well, and I'm here to share. That's not everything I'm sharing is everybody's gonna agree with everything. I'm super happy with that. Be happy to share your thoughts with me in the comments. And please share any feedback, anything, any way that I can make these videos better. I would love to hear that, because I'm putting a lot of thought in there, but you might have better ideas, and you probably will. So please shoot them my way. Nice having you here. Have an excellent rest of your day, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.